So my name's John, and my brother Ben died when he was 11 and when I was 14. The whole family was on a walking holiday in France, and myself and Ben went ahead of the path, and unfortunately the path gave way and he slipped and he died. So he'd fallen down quite a large side of the mountain and was quite inaccessible. My parents ran down the mountain to him, and my sister and I stayed at the top. Becky stayed at the top with me. And we called for air support for the helicopters, and they went down to meet him and were there on the side. That helicopter then came back up to my sister and I. I was very confused by this point. I didn't understand why they weren't just taking him straight to hospital. And we went into the helicopter, and I looked around for Ben, and I couldn't see him there at all. And I asked my mum what had happened, and she told me that he'd actually died on the side of the mountain. We were taken to a police station in France where, unsurprisingly, everything was in French. So I was in a very foreign country, in a very foreign situation. I didn't have a clue what was happening. So I just focused on making sure my sister was okay. It was really straight afterwards that I realised the support I got from the church straight away. We went home, and a lot of things which could have been worries weren't, because the church had been around. They tidied up the mess in my brother's room, which was quite a bit of a mess, so that I wouldn't have to see that when I went in there to get my things out. It had all been sorted. My friends were fantastic. They instinctively understood, with wisdom that isn't really natural for 14-year-old boys, that I couldn't speak about it, and I just wanted to be quiet and surrounded by people. So we stayed together. We played a lot of computer games in complete silence. We sat in silence. I had friends come over and sit with me, and I'd talk sometimes, and oftentimes I wouldn't. I felt for myself that I had to look after people. I had to look after my sister. I had to look after my parents. But at the end of the day, I was only 40 years old. I shut down a lot and didn't really feel comfortable speaking about my pain with family. What I did feel comfortable doing was sharing it with friends, because I didn't have any expectation to look after them. I think when we were children together, we were both treated as children. When Ben died, there was this language which got attributed to him by family, by friends, of Ben being an angel, of he's an angel now in heaven, and what a special, lovely child he was. And actually, he was my brother, and he could be an absolute pain at times. He was an 11-year-old boy, and I was a 14-year-old boy, and there were plenty of times when we didn't get on. And actually, it was quite jarring for me to hear him described in that angelic terms, when I knew that he wasn't an angel. He was a boy, he was a human, and he was so much better for it. He did daft things. He whinged like anything if I tackled him too hard in football. He was a boy, and he had that realness to him which suddenly got lost when people talked about him afterwards. He stopped being my brother, he stopped being my friend, and it became something a bit more ethereal in the way people talked about him. My family were absolutely amazing. I think the thing which really struck out for me was how responsive they were to each of our individual grief. As a family, we knew that we were all grieving, that we were all in this absolutely awful place together. But we knew also that we had different reactions to that and different ways of showing that. And there was an instinctive understanding that that was okay, that we all grieve in different ways, that we all show it in different ways. My family was also very good at establishing a new normal quite quickly, establishing ways of doing things as a family unit which was very difficult now, much more difficult than they would have been. We celebrated Christmas, but in a different way. We went to a different place. We had holidays, but different holidays to what we did before. And with that, there was continuous talking about what we wanted to do and what we felt able to do. And there was a time when my dad and I felt able to go on walking holidays again, and my mum and my sister, Mum and Becky, didn't. And that was okay, and that was understood to be okay for both sides, that actually we needed to do this, but we fully understood why they couldn't just then. I think going forward, one of the continuous things in the months and years afterwards was that there was an understanding that it still hurts, and it's understanding that we are still suffering, we're still grieving. For my friends, they will send messages on Ben's birthday, on Christmas, on the anniversary of his death. They'll send messages to me just to say, we're thinking of you, we're praying for you, you're in our thoughts, just to remind me that they're still caring and they're still supporting it, and that's incredibly helpful. Birthdays, Christmases, and anniversaries of death, they're so difficult, and I felt so supported by that. I felt massively supported by a church which has understood that it's okay to be angry at God about what's happening. It's okay to be angry at God, and a church which understands that conversation about that, dialogue through that, is helpful. It's been incredibly helpful to talk to other bereaved siblings. I've really appreciated how helpful it's been to see that other people have struggled with things I've struggled with, that other people have felt the way I've felt. I've really found it helpful to hear that other siblings have felt responsibility for parents, because I thought that might have just been me. The first thing I'd like to say to any bereaved parents who are supporting siblings is that what you are doing is good. If you are loving your siblings, then that is good. And actually, you will not get it right, because we can't get it right, because no one gets it right. But by showing that love to them, showing they're still loved, and that they have a space to share if and when they want to, that really makes a huge difference. I didn't feel able to share things with my family, with my parents, which I felt able to share with my friends. But because I knew it was always open, there was always that open door that I could always talk to my parents about it. Even if I didn't choose to do that, I felt safe, and I felt I was able to grieve in a safe way. I would say to anyone who's lost their sibling that whatever they're feeling, whatever their emotions, however they've reacted, however they're responding, it's okay. I'd like to say that you're not alone in feeling as you feel. That people who go through the process, often when we share, when we talk, we find that our emotions, our feelings are more common than we think. One of the things which has really helped me is being able to talk about it with other people who shared similar losses. And I'd really encourage them to seek that help, seek that support, and seek people who just walked that path, either before or are still walking it. And whenever I've been on a bereaved siblings event, I've always started with a feeling of trepidation, feeling of uncertainty, which is immediately gone the second we've met each other. It's an incredibly welcoming environment, incredibly supportive. And as we go, we talk about our journey so far, we talk about our responses so far, we talk about how we've dealt with difficult things, how we've dealt with anniversaries, how we've dealt with birthdays, and how we're still dealing with them, and what has worked for us, but more than that, how our responses have changed over the years. It's been incredibly useful just to spend time with people who've gone through similar losses, and to share where we are, what helps us, and to spend time in friendship with each other.